Dr. Ayo Akerele is currently in charge of marketing and logistics for a education consulting company called Business International, and they have business portfolios in the UK, in Africa, and in North America. He's an expert of international repute, a prolific writer, as he has published quite a few books. He's a marketer and public speaker whose unique skills and expertise have significantly impacted his Trailblazers brand since its inception. Please join me as I speak with this very prolific gentleman as we find out a bit about what to do when you get here for education or just for immigration. Stay with us. Thank you for speaking with us, Dr. Akerele. We're very happy to have you on the show today. So our first question will be, what are the things that Africans have to consider before they decide that they want to immigrate to, say, a country like Canada or somewhere in Europe or wherever it is? What are the key things you think they should think about and process before they actually decide to make the move?
Thank you very much. I'm glad that you have found me qualified to be part of this very amazing session of interview. And being an African immigrant myself, I will use myself as an example. And so my answers to your question will be a bit more specific and then more generic as well.
Okay.
Well, one of the most important factors to consider for any migrants to a place like Canada or England or Australia or any of these developed countries is the possibility and ease for securing a good job with any education you may have. You may have achieved or acquired back home in Africa. And but of course, the demographic characteristics of different migrants are different. There are migrants that haven't studied anything at all. They're just from secondary school, they want to go abroad. There are those that have studied a program back home in Africa. They are graduates, they are educated. There are those that are matured. They've been working for many years and just want to go abroad, probably to relocate their family. So different segments of people require different segments of factors to consider. But there are some factors that are common to every segment, and that is the ability to secure original and valid immigration papers. Now I'm choosing my words. There are fake immigration papers, and most Nigerians are falling victim of so many crooks who deceive them right there from Nigeria. They can get them papers. We all read news and we know what happens. We know of Nigerian ladies who are deceived to travel into places like Italy and some parts of Eastern Europe for greener pastures, and they end up becoming prostitutes. So you must be able to secure a country that will make your life easy, make your life better. Must, I'm choosing the word must be able to give you a paper, a visa that can enable you to work, do something that is dignified with your skill. And so secondly, you must go to a place where you, at least as far as we know, as far as you can read from the news, as far as you can read from other media sources, places where the level of racial discrimination is very, very low, very minute. Okay. You even in Nigeria, in Africa, whether you're a Ghanaian or a Cameroonian or a Nigerian or a Togolese or whatever, you wouldn't find an American or a British coming to those countries and being given everything. There will be some level of restriction. This is our country. You can't just come in and take everything. So the same thing applies to us when we go abroad to those countries. There will be some levels of restrictions, discrimination. But there are some countries where you can read the handwritings on the wall. They discriminate a lot against Africans. Thirdly, I want to pick up the issue of culture as well. Culture is a very important factor as well to consider. And I've known so many Nigerians who went to places like United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, because of course in those Middle East countries you don't pay tax on most things. So because of the no tax law in those countries, most Nigerians like to live there. That is what they know about the country. Those countries have they have a lot of other issues that make them not a very, very desirable destination. For example, if you are a Christian, I mean, let's bring in religion now. You are a Christian, or you are a Muslim, or you are whoever you are, and let's assume you are a Christian. You go to Kuwait. I mean, you will find it difficult to get churches established in public places. So if you're a very religious person and you place religion above many other aspects of your life, living in the Middle East could be very, very trying for you, very challenging, in spite of the tax advantages, I mean, that they are offering. Another issue that I've observed that gives a lot of migrants, African migrants, source of concern is, let me use the normal layman's language that most Nigerians use, exchange rates.
Okay.
Most Africans have dependents, a lot of dependents. And you see an average African man growing up from a family where one person is doing a good job and is sponsoring the other siblings. And so if you are the breadwinner, in quotes, of a family, your parents have labored to raise you, to give you a university education in Nigeria, or in Ghana, or in Togo, or in Cameroon, or in South Africa, wherever you have come from. You don't want to get to a country where you work and labor and work and you send money back home and they are exchanging it one to one. That is why you find a lot of Nigerians in England. A lot of them. We meet them in the elevator, you meet them in the train station, cleaning, sweeping. That is not to say that Nigerians don't do good jobs in England. There are many Nigerians doing wonderful jobs. We have professors, doctors, medical doctors, IT experts, but there are so many other people who are graduates who are doing menial jobs. And when you ask them, they'll tell you it's better for me to be in England and be cleaning, and I can earn £1,500. That's close to 300,000 naira in Nigeria. Okay. And that 300,000 naira is a lot of money, and you can send some money home. So you want to go to a country where you get a lot of money for your labor. The output.
So economic value is a very
primary
key factor when it comes to that decision for most people.
And economic value itself is relative. It's relative because what is value to somebody is not value to another person. Now, for example, a man or a woman who has come from a family of rich people. We know Nigerians who send their children abroad, governors, commissioners, and people that work with governments who are very rich. And the guy comes abroad. Economic value is not his problem. It's not. Some of them even get monthly stipends from the parents back home in Africa, and the money they get, sometimes they don't even work for a long time. Okay. Their school fees are paid, tuition fees are paid, accommodation is paid. So that's why we have to look at the issue of demographics. Who are the people coming abroad? What is their family background? Now, somebody who has come from a family of a governor, he will not see things in the perspective of somebody who has come from a village and the whole village put money together to send them abroad. So the focus of those two parties will be different. So we see some of them in Europe, in Canada here, and so these are the factors that I've considered: economic value, ability to secure residency and work visas, ability to live in a country and to live securely and safely without discrimination, and sometimes distance is another factor. Most Nigerians like to go to a place where they have very, very little constraints in traveling back home as often as they want. Okay. That is why the UK is one of the best destinations for Nigeria, because 6 hours, sometimes 5 hours flight will take you back to Nigeria or to Ghana. Australia is an issue for so many people. You pick a flight from Lagos, and then you will stop over in Tokyo, pick another flight in Tokyo, stop over in
2 or 3 day journey
in New Zealand. So 2-3 day journey. So, and you find that if you do a research and we decide to identify the places where most migrants go to, I've done some research on this before in the past. Okay. Europe and North America occupy the largest chunk of the number of countries, number of places people go to.
So are you saying though that, from my understanding, that distance plays a greater role in immigration from Africa than, say, economic policies at the location where they're going? Because
If let me put on my academic cap now,
okay,
and let's go a little bit more academic now.
okay,
Now there is a research finding from the United Nations some years back, and it's an annual research project that is done.
okay,
It is called a competitive measurement index,
okay.
World Competitive Index. So every country of the world is assessed based on about 6 different factors. What makes America or Canada or England a more preferred destination for immigrants than other places? So immigration is not the primary factor, but they just do a kind of a very holistic assessment of each country. So one of the strongest factors among all other factors is economic policy, economic variables. And they measure the exchange rate.
Okay.
They look at the banking sectors in those countries. They look at the rates of corruption. I mean, they measure corruption indices, and above any other factor, what places one country above another is the economic advantages of those countries. And even if a country is 10 days, it's a 10-day, we take you 10 days to reach from Africa. And you know, I mean, your life will be better off. Africans are naturally wired to go to short places. As a Nigerian, you find Nigerians live in any kind of world. In fact, there was a time we found a report that in the country of Iceland, Siberia, it's the coldest part of the world.
The Africans
Nigerians are there.
well.
Not even Africans, Nigerians are there.
Coming from the tropics, I wonder how they're going to settle.
Because some of them even want to go very far from their families. Because of the perception that the closer you are home, the more pressure the family
There
puts.
is.
So if your family knows you take them 10 days to travel to where you are, they will think twice about it. The best they can do is send you email. So I would place economic advantages, economic policies, economic variables above every other factor. Other factors will follow suit. You can't. Even if other factors are held constant, and the economic policies of many African countries become improved, most people will not travel, because that's the driving factor for development, infrastructural development, growth. In any country, they are all determined by how strong the economy is.
Okay, so I know that, with you're part of an organization, Trailblazers International, and you do a lot of work around immigration and trying to support people who come to Canada to settle in terms of jobs, in terms of study. Can you give us a little bit of information about how, what do immigrants, what are they supposed to expect? So when they get here, what are the things they should do? How does Trailblazer now come in to support them when they get here or before they get here? What does Trailblazer actually do?
Well, our work actually begins from the first stage of convincing and inspiring people to come to Canada. So there is a life cycle of our work from inception to execution. So from inception, we talk to them. There are some people who don't even know anything about Canada. They just know, oh, it's a very cold place. So, and we have to talk to them and tell them, you have skills, you have talents, you're highly educated. Why don't you come to Canada? I mean, you're in Nigeria for the past 20 years, you've been a graduate, things are not working. So we try as much as possible to pull together all the factors and variables that make Canada one of the best places in the world. So we tell them about the immigration system in Canada, how easy it is for Canada comparatively with other countries, how easy it is for Canada to give you papers within a short space of 5 years. If you come as a student, you can become a citizen. 1 year of study, 1 year with work permits, 3 years with permanent residency, 5 years you can be a citizen. Okay. In the UK, it could take 15 years. And so some clients, some of our clients, they love to hear some things because they want their family, their children, father and mother and children want to become citizens. Other people don't even know anything about job prospects. We have to tell them this is how much, professionals in your field have been paid. You're a nurse, you're earning 30,000 naira in Nigeria, about $200. If you come to Canada and you do the proper exams and you are qualified as a nurse, you can earn $5,000. So look at it from $200 to $5,000. So you're already stimulating their interest. So by the time we pull together all those factors, we even go as far as telling families that have children that the government supports children. If you are working and you're earning a certain income below the threshold, government will be paying you some money every month. You'll be given subsidy. So parents that are interested in relocating with their family members, once they hear that they are going to a country where the country is not only concerned about collecting their money through tax, those taxes that are being collected from them are put back into the system to give them good life. Of course, we are able to stimulate their interest.
Okay.
So when the interest is stimulated, of course, we now place their options for them. So we don't force options on people because different clients have different needs. So we have forms and documentations that we ask clients to complete. Who are you? Tell us about yourself, your background, your educational background, your experience. Some of them we tell them you're not educated. Why don't you come in and study a one-year program? If you are rich and you have money, you can sponsor yourself. You have come from a rich family. Why don't you come in and study a bachelor's degree program or a 2-year program? When you finish after your studies, you'll be given a 1-year working visa. You get a good job. If your family is in Nigeria, you can bring them in later on. After a year, you can get a residency, permanent residency. After living in Canada for 3 years with a permanent residency, you qualify for a citizenship. And so, for others that are qualified, that have been working like doctors, like nurses, we tell them that, well, you don't need to come and study. Just come in through the residency program, the Federal Skilled Workers Program. And so, we have an office in Nigeria. We have offices in Lagos and in Ibadan, Nigeria. So, we deal with all the paperwork in the offices, and clients go there to meet with our staff face to face. So, once we get them whatever they want, if you're looking for example, now if you're looking for admission, okay, we help them to facilitate admission. So we're appointed by institutions in Canada here. We can help students to process their admissions, documentations, pass them over to the school, recommend them strongly to the schools. Sometimes we help them to edit their CVs, their resumes, and just prepare a package, prepare a profile for them that will make them to come out among the list of those that will be admitted. So when we get admission, we package everything and we courier it back to them in Nigeria. And then we now start the process of assisting them in applying for their visa. Now we don't issue visas to them. Now one thing we observe is that most Nigerians, they have gone through they need a lot of reorientation. When they hear that a company is doing immigration, the concept is you will help them get visa. And most of them fall victim of fraudsters who give them fraudulent and forged visas. So what we do is that we help them package the information they need. The Canadian embassy needs 25 different documents. Okay. This is how the documents should look like. You need 5 passport photographs. You should do this. All those little errors that will cause problems for them, we point their attention to it. We help them complete the application forms. Sometimes we might assist them to write essays and stuff like that, just to prepare them adequately, and then they will personally go and submit the admission, the visa documentations and application documents in the embassy. And so if they succeed with the visa, we provide, and they come to Canada, we provide airport pickup services for them. We can help them secure accommodation. Sometimes we assist in transferring funds for them. And because of the rate of fraud in Nigeria now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has instituted a lot of policies to curb the excesses of all these fraudsters that send money abroad for drugs and for terrorist activities. So we act as intermediaries. They can pay money to our account on our own charges. We don't even charge them, and we send the money to the schools. We get a receipt from them. We send the receipt back to them in Nigeria, and so we act like a hub, like a one-stop shop for so many things. But once they come into Canada, our services are reduced. We help them to settle down a little bit. We help them, if they are coming to study, of course, we help them to get into their hostels or help them secure an apartment in the city of Toronto or wherever they are. Okay. If they are not coming to study, they are coming to relocate. They are relocating. They are residents. They are permanent residents. Of course, all they need to do is to know how to open accounts, get their SIN, social insurance number, get their children or themselves registered in clinics. All those little services can create problems for immigrants. Sometimes they will need to know which phone service, which telephone network they should subscribe to. Some of them just rush and just go to any store and get themselves into trouble. So we know those services that suit newly landed immigrants. Go and take this service. Don't take this service. You're going to pay a lot of money. This can call 10 kilometers from Toronto. This can allow you to call long distance, make long distance calls and stuff like that.
But do you think that our expectations are too high in Africa about countries that are outside of Africa, like so-called developed countries like Canada or the US? Because I find that in my own conversation with people, there's some people that say that, the expectations were too high, and when they came here, they were a little bit disappointed. I don't know if you can shed some light on what you think may cause such disappointments, or do you think that these developed countries are overhyped, or why do you think these expectations are cut off?
Well, it's a very important question, and I have been in the same boats before, and so I can relate well with my brothers and sisters who are just coming up. The damage that Hollywood movies has done to the minds of so many youths back home in Africa is very serious. And I would say that in a sense there is a lot of hype in the way we assess the way things operate here. And most of our brethren and brothers that traveled in the 80s and early 90s, they don't tell us the truth sometimes. Some of them get abroad, they go to nice places, they take pictures, they send you those pictures, and you are confused. Is it the same mother that gave birth to you, that gave birth to that woman, the other person as well? And some of them will not let you know that they are doing so many jobs. So many people come abroad with that expectation that things will be easy, with very minimal effort. Having said that, I will also say that some of the expectations that we developed back home in Africa are justified. Now, growing up in an environment where you have been deprived of so many things, you all ultimately want to get to a place where those services, those benefits that have been deprived, that you have been deprived of, are at your beck and call.
Of course.
So, at the very least, an average African man, typically Nigerian, wants to go to a country where there is very, very minimal scarcity of job, and you get a lot of money for your efforts, for your labor. For some places in Nigeria, because I'm not speaking for every African now, so let me speak like a Nigerian now. For a Nigerian, the issue of electricity is a problem, and some basic amenities that Nigerians have been deprived of for many years will definitely form the basis of self-conviction for so many Nigerians who are traveling abroad. As long as light does not go, there is constant supply of water, and the roads are good, the hospitals are good, the banks are safe and secure, there are credit card facilities. All those basic things that an average Canadian will see as nothing will trigger the interest of a Nigerian to live abroad. For some other African countries, South Africans for example, those things don't matter because they give them in their country. So their own primary reason and motivation for coming abroad will be economic, just to make money and go back home. And having studied up to doctoral level, I've met a lot of people. Of course, I've studied in Nigeria, and then I studied in South Africa, and then in England, in Scotland, and then I'm in Canada now. So I've met a lot of Nigerians, Ghanaians, Togolese, and many African people. Very brilliant people, very brilliant. But one of the problems we are facing is the bad image and bad publicity that has been created for us by leadership. So it's possible to generalize that all Africans are these, based on the behavior of one single individual. You're carrying the image of your leader wherever you go. So if you've come from a country where the leader is intelligent, brilliant, he speaks with poise, he speaks with pride, and like Obama does now. You see this thing in Americans, wherever they go, there's a pride. Their president speaks with pride. And when he's speaking, you see the American dream, you see the American image being portrayed by the way he speaks. The research finding that if you put a small man in a big position, the small man will drag the big position to his own size. And if you put a big man in a small position, the big man will expand the small position to his size. So the environment, and that is why a lot of governments in Africa are pumping money into laundering their images, doing a lot of awareness among people overseas here. This is African culture, and these are some of the things you guys are doing as well. I mean, what you're doing is very, 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 very important to the creation of a new orientation about Africans.
Why, thank you. Okay, that's fantastic. I mean, before we go, there's something interesting we're doing with this episode. So we're asking people on the street on our next segment, Africa Talks, about what kinds of faux pas they've made when they come to somewhere like Canada or another European or North American country. And so I don't know if you have any faux pas to share with us before we go today.
I have many of them. We came from Britain, and when you go to McDonald's in Britain and you want to order for food, they will tell you, is it eating or takeaway? So the first time I went to McDonald's here and I told them, they said, what do they want? I said, well, takeaway. They said, no, to go or to stay. So to go or to stay. So what are you talking about? It's takeaway. And we just laughed. We had a good laugh. I mean, and another time I was trying to, I think I bought some stuff from the store, and they were trying to take it with me to the car. Okay. So I just tell them, open the boot. I said, what do you mean? Boot? They don't call it boot there. They call it trunk or something. And a lot of other things that we say that trigger the suspicion of the white people that these people are not they're not part of us. They're from Africa. And well, it's better that, I mean, some of us came from Europe. Some people that came from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Togo directly, we find it difficult to blend, particularly in terms of language. Yeah. And when you're speaking, they will telling you, I mean, can you speak slowly, please? Can you speak slowly, please? And but there are many of them that I encounter on a daily basis, but I can remember those two episodes, very prominent in my mind.
I'll be sure to remember the boot and trunk. I know that one is something that I know that a lot of Africans will be making mistakes with, especially coming from Nigeria. But Dr. Akerele, I want to thank you so much for speaking with us today. I really enjoyed this interview, and I'm sure viewers will also enjoy this interview. Please catch us on youtube.com/StridesTV. Today we're speaking with the very amiable Dr. Akerele. Find more about what Trailblazers do, how they support immigrants to come to Canada and other countries, and what other kinds of services that they have on their website, trailblazersimmigration.com. Until later, this is your girl, Onem, speaking with Dr. Ayo Akerele. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.